After a truly mortifying elevator incident involving my skirt, a handsome stranger, and a pair of floral lace leggings, I thought I'd seen the last of Ethan. Turns out I was wrong. Very wrong. My recent breakup with the jerk, Jason, had prompted a move to a new apartment complex, a fresh start in a new environment. As a concept artist for a gaming company, my days were long and grueling, often leaving me feeling more like a workhorse than a human. One late night, after yet another 11 p.m. finish, I found myself waiting for the elevator, mesmerized by the tall, undeniably attractive back of a man ahead of me. He radiated that elusive it factor, a cool, effortless vibe that only added to his mystique. I dismissed the thought, reminding myself that at this hour, not even Chris Hemsworth could revive my exhausted spirit. But then he turned. And I took it all back. This guy was ridiculously handsome. With his sharp features and undeniable charisma, he looked completely out of place in our humble building. If it weren't for the familiar surroundings, I'd have suspected he was a runaway K-pop trainee. And tall? My kryptonite. I gawked, my steps faltering. He looked at me and said, "Watch out." Watch out for what? My rapidly escalating feelings? His voice, a smooth, low timbre, sent shivers down my spine. I'm not ashamed to admit I'd already mentally enrolled our future children in the best elementary school in the district. Lost in my daydream, the elevator doors began to close. I felt a tug, a subtle but unmistakable resistance. Ethan's eyes darted downwards, towards my rear end. More specifically, the corner of my skirt, now trapped between the closing doors. My mind went blank. The elevator began its slow ascent. Danger. Ethan reacted instantly, lunging forward and yanking my skirt free. A noble act, certainly, but his enthusiasm proved a little excessive. He ripped the entire skirt clean off. There I stood, exposed in all my floral lace legging glory. Ethan froze, whether from shock at having de-skirted a woman or at the sight of my questionable undergarment, I'll never know. His ears burned crimson as he stammered an apology, his words lost on my mortified ears. I yanked the remains of my skirt up, my face aflame. The elevator doors opened. He practically bolted, his escape route taking him to the 5th floor. 1 floor below mine. Great. Just great. If I had known this was how my night would unfold, I swear I would have, at the very least, chosen a more flattering pair of leggings. That was my first encounter with Ethan. The humiliation was so intense, I opted for the stairs for the next several days, actively avoiding any potential elevator encounters. I thought I'd escape the awkwardness, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. My favorite local haunt, a nationally renowned establishment known as Sandy Sandwiches, was my regular comfort food refuge. I'd often find myself there, lost in a dramatic K-drama, tears welling up at the fictional heartbreak unfolding on screen. One such evening, mid-sob, 2 familiar figures flickered past the window. Figures I'd rather have avoided: Jason, my cheating ex, and Olivia, his new girlfriend. In that moment, my carefully constructed post-breakup narrative, honestly, I'm thriving. Doubled my salary, dating a younger guy, dining at Michelin star restaurants. Crumbled before my eyes. There I sat, in an oversized t-shirt, hair a mess, the picture of single, not-so-fab life. Jason stared, a mixture of surprise and something else I couldn't quite place in his eyes. In a split-second decision, driven by pride and a sudden surge of inspiration, I grabbed the arm of the nearest attractive stranger and blurted out, "Honey." The stranger stiffened, turning slowly. It was Ethan, the skirt ripper himself. He looked like he was facing a firing squad. Seriously? Was it that bad? The backstory with Jason and Olivia was messy. Olivia had been my student in an adult art class I used to teach. A seemingly sweet and innocent girl, she'd often linger after class to ask questions, and I'd foolishly taken her under my wing. Jason, at the time, was a manager at a private company. We were long-term, headed for marriage. Olivia would always greet him with a cheerful, "Hi, future brother-in-law." Seeing Jason's apparent acceptance, I often invited her over for dinner. Looking back, I realize I was an idiot of epic proportions. The truth unraveled when I stumbled across a message from Olivia to Jason, sent from a burner account. Despite the disguised profile, the silhouette gave her away. "Husband," she'd written, "I miss you so much." When are you going to break up with her? Jason's reply was sickeningly affectionate. My world imploded. After the breakup, Jason had tried to justify his actions, claiming he'd only made a mistake any man would make. My refusal to forgive him, he argued, was a sign of my lack of understanding. I gave him a well-deserved slap and told him to disappear. I walked away, leaving them to their toxic love affair. It turned out Olivia had spent years chasing after her college crush, a campus heartthrob who barely knew her name. This unrequited love had fueled my sympathy, making me even more susceptible to her manipulative charm. Who knew that failing to secure Mr. Perfect would lead her straight into the arms, and, more importantly, the wallet of my then-fiancé? For someone like Olivia, starting her career and not particularly keen on hard work, Jason, a few years her senior and established in his career, was the perfect meal ticket. Ironically, I'd landed the teaching job because Jason considered it the ideal profession for a woman, pure and innocent. I'd been so naive, sacrificing my own dreams to mold myself into the image he desired. If I could go back, I'd tell him to find his own pure and innocent female teacher. I'd even crowdfund his gender reassignment surgery. Post-breakup, I left the art school and joined the gaming company, a dream I'd long suppressed. Despite the demanding hours, I was happy, finally pursuing a path that resonated with me. And now, 6 months later, here they were, the cheating ex and his conquest, parading their happiness in my favorite sandwich shop. Fueled by a potent cocktail of pride and spite, I clung to Ethan's arm, channeling my inner actress. I mouthed, "Help me." Ethan hesitated, then caught on, his expression shifting from bewildered to something resembling reluctant cooperation. Just then, Jason and Olivia approached, their greetings dripping with false cordiality. "Amelia, what a coincidence," Jason said. I ignored him. Olivia's gaze, however, was fixed on my boyfriend. Her jaw dropped. Ethan? Ethan. The name sounded oddly familiar. Then it hit me. Olivia's unrequited college crush, the very same campus heartthrob she'd chased for years. The irony was almost too much to bear. The ensuing conversation was a masterpiece of awkwardness. Jason asked, "Amelia, is this your boyfriend?" I puffed out my chest and declared, "Yes." Olivia, equally stunned, asked Ethan the same question. He glanced at me, and I squeezed his hand, silently pleading for him to play along. He nodded. "Yes." Olivia pressed further. "When did you two get together?" "None of your business," I interjected, relishing every word. "Olivia, seriously? You steal one boyfriend and now you're trying for another." Ethan shot me a look. Olivia flushed. Jason, sensing the tension, asked Olivia, "Is this a friend of yours?" "Yes," she stammered, "a classmate." Actually, Ethan corrected, a subtle but devastating blow. "We were classmates." "Your name is Olivia, right?" The temperature in the room plummeted. Olivia looked like she was about to cry. I, on the other hand, was reveling in her discomfort. Ethan turned to me. "He's your ex?" he asked. I nodded. He took it all in, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. He picked up his chopsticks, speared a marinated egg, and offered it to me. "Eat up. You've lost weight." "You don't feel as good in my arms anymore," he murmured, his eyes downcast, his longish bangs hiding his expression. I stared at him, dumbfounded. My heart hammered against my ribs. Olivia glared daggers. She'd probably never seen her unattainable crush act so tenderly towards anyone, let alone me. I triumphantly ate the egg. Olivia, bristling with hostility, brought up my earlier boast. "Didn't you say you were dining at fancy places after the breakup?" she sneered. I gestured towards Ethan. "What can I say? My boyfriend wanted sandwiches. Besides," I added, turning back to Olivia, "you don't get to call me sis anymore." "Oh, and who does?" she spat. I pointed at Ethan. "He does." Ethan was spared the indignity of calling me sis. Jason, thankfully, received a phone call and dragged Olivia away. I followed shortly after, leaving Ethan with, hopefully, a sense of gratitude for my valiant performance and the uneaten chicken leg I'd gifted him earlier. In the chaos, I'd completely forgotten to exchange contact information. Given my work schedule, I figured I wouldn't see him again anytime soon. But I was wrong. Again. Later that evening, while venting to my best friend about the run-in with Jason and Olivia, a bombshell dropped. That jerk Jason is spreading rumors about you, she blurted out. Rumors? I pressed her for details. Reluctantly, she confessed that Jason, to save face, had been telling everyone that I was the one who'd wronged him. My friend, not wanting to add to my post-breakup misery, had kept it from me. Rage surged through me. I paced my balcony, cursing Jason's name. If looks could kill, Jason and Olivia would be Swiss cheese. Lost in my fury, I hadn't noticed something fall from the balcony railing. An hour later, after hanging up, I saw a friend request on my phone. Ethan, 5th floor. Added from the building's resident group chat. I accepted immediately, sending a barrage of friendly emojis. His response was typically cool and collected. He sent a photo. A photo of a pair of bright pink, crayon Shin-chan underwear. Yours? He asked. I glanced up at the now empty clothes rack on my balcony. Oh, my God. My ugliest underwear. Hanging in his possession. Mortification threatened to consume me. Could I just pretend I hadn't seen the message? No, that would leave the incriminating evidence in his hands indefinitely. With a deep breath, I typed, "So sorry, those are mine." I was on the phone and didn't notice. What a coincidence, haha. Yes, Ethan replied, quite a coincidence. They landed right on my head. I wanted to die. The elevator ride down to the 5th floor felt like an eternity. To retrieve my underwear, I had to sacrifice any remaining shred of dignity. I should have just told him to keep them, but that would have sounded weird. I hovered outside his door, rehearsing various opening lines. Hi, Ethan. Here for my underpants? What a coincidence. How did they end up at your place? Haha. Nothing sounded right. Just as I was about to give up and melt into the floor, the door swung open. There he stood. I plastered a smile on my face. Hi, neighbor, I squeaked. He stepped aside. Come in. Oh, I need to come in? Unless you want me to bring them out to you, he offered. No, inside is fine, I said hastily. Anything was better than him touching my crayon Shin-chan underpants again. His apartment was a mirror image of mine, but immaculately clean and organized. He pointed towards the sofa. They're over there. There they were, my beloved, albeit embarrassing, crayon Shin-chan. I scooped them up, shoving them into my pocket. Thanks, I mumbled, trying to maintain some semblance of composure. I should get going. Okay. He settled back at his computer, where he'd been watching cartoons. I glanced at the screen. What are you watching? Crayon Shin-chan, he replied. I made my escape. Back on the 6th floor, I breathed a sigh of relief. As I reached for my keys, I realized I'd left them inside. All I had on me was my phone and the retrieved underwear. I messaged my landlord, only to be informed she was on vacation. She sent me the number of a locksmith. Defeated, I began pacing outside my door like a restless, red-nosed mole. On my 10th lap, the elevator dinged. Thinking it was the locksmith, I turned eagerly, only to find Ethan standing there, holding a large watermelon. Aren't you home yet? He asked. Locked out. Waiting for the locksmith, I sighed. Just standing here? What else can I do? You could have come down to my place, he suggested, gesturing with the watermelon. I bought too much. Forgot to give you some. So you brought it all the way up here? Yeah. I was touched. Watermelon was my favorite. He pressed the elevator button. Come on, we'll wait downstairs until the locksmith arrives. He said we. And so I found myself back in Ethan's apartment, sharing a watermelon and watching some random variety show. As we ate, I discovered he wasn't as quiet as he seemed. He had a dry wit and a surprisingly playful sense of humor. Mid-show, my phone vibrated violently. My mother, calling on video chat. Of all the times, refusing her call would unleash a torrent of questions and anxieties, so I retreated to a corner and answered. Why so long to answer? What are you doing? She demanded. At a friend's place. I chirped. Oh, I thought the curtains looked unfamiliar. I forced a laugh. Nothing much, I'll call you later, okay? Hold on, why are you in your pajamas at a friend's place? At my best friend's. Staying over. You just said you'd call me later, now you're staying over? My mother, as always, had a knack for finding the holes in my logic. Just then, Ethan strolled past in the background, holding a glass of water. My mother gasped. Amelia, there's a man there. What man? Oh, the signal's bad. Gotta go, Mom. Bye. I hung up, frantically confronting Ethan. Why did you have to walk past the camera? He looked genuinely bewildered. I was getting a glass of water. I thought I was far enough away to not be seen. My mother saw you. Now I have to explain. Just tell her the truth, he shrugged. It's not that simple, I groaned. Ever since Jason, my mom's been worried sick about me, convinced I'll never recover. If she saw you, she'll think you're my rebound. Rebound? Yeah, because I told her I'm done with men, sworn them off for life. Ethan paused, took a sip of water, his throat bobbing enticingly. He set the glass down. Then don't explain, he said casually. The locksmith arrived. I hurried upstairs, Ethan trailing behind with his keys. I tried to dismiss him, insisting I could handle it myself. I can't leave you alone with a strange man, he said firmly, it's dangerous. I was taken aback by his concern. He was younger than me, yet so thoughtful. He took charge, introducing himself as my boyfriend to the locksmith and our elderly neighbors who happened to be returning home at that very moment. The neighbors, known for their love of gossip and square dancing, exchanged knowing smiles. I cringed, preparing to explain, but Ethan simply said, I'll be going down now. Call me if you need anything. But I don't have your number, I blurted out, realizing too late how that sounded. He smiled, a playful glint in his eyes, and gently patted the back of my head. I'll send it to you on WeChat, he said. Finally back inside my apartment, I found my WeChat overflowing with messages from my mother. She was relentlessly interrogating me about the mysterious man, convinced I was hiding a budding romance. Was I? Why had I lied so readily? Could I possibly have feelings for Ethan? I dismissed the thought immediately. He was younger. Impossible. I video called my mother back, confessing the entire charade. Her initial excitement deflated into disappointment. She'd hoped I was finally moving on. He seemed like a nice young man, she sighed, quite handsome. You barely saw his face, I argued. Mother's intuition, she declared. Do you like him? No, of course not. He's just my neighbor. She sighed again. Well, I have a friend whose son is your age. I'll set you up sometime. I thought you liked your neighbor, so I wouldn't have to. No blind dates. I refused point blank, ending the call before she could launch into another matchmaking campaign. A message popped up from my friend. Check the group chat. It was our university alumni group, unusually active tonight. Someone had tagged me. It was Jason, sending out invitations to his engagement party with Olivia. He'd even tagged me specifically. Amelia, he wrote, I sincerely hope you can make it. The irony was almost unbearable. We'd been on the verge of engagement ourselves. I'd meticulously planned our future, chosen a wedding dress, booked a photographer. All for nothing. I replied with a passive-aggressive smiley face. I'll have to pass this time. Next time, for sure. Just as I sent the message, Ethan sent me a screenshot. Olivia had invited him to the engagement party too, suggesting he and I come together. She wasn't being genuine, of course. It was a test, a way to confirm our fake relationship. I was about to decline when Ethan's message popped up. Let's go, he wrote. Together. I declined Ethan's invitation to Jason and Olivia's engagement party. The thought of witnessing their smug happiness was unbearable. But during a late-night call with Chloe, my best friend, she insisted I reconsider. Amelia, she said, you need to move on. This is your chance to show them, and yourself, that you're over him. I argued that I couldn't bring myself to feign congratulations. You wouldn't be alone, she countered. You'd have your hot downstairs neighbor as your plus one. This is a golden opportunity. Don't be a fool. Okay, there's a sliver of logic there, I conceded. So what's stopping you? The boy is fine. He even invited you. Girl, even if it's just for his face, you should crawl there if you have to. I sighed. Chloe continued, her voice rising with exasperation. If it were me, I wouldn't just go. I'd lure him back to my place afterwards. What? Is that too much? I'm just scientifically curious about the topography of his abs. Despite her slightly inappropriate enthusiasm, Chloe's words planted a seed of doubt. Maybe she was right. If I didn't go, Jason and Olivia might think I was still hung up on him. As if. I would go, and I would shower them with the most insincere well wishes imaginable. Feeling a surge of defiance, I went to take out the trash. Opening my door, I nearly jumped out of my skin. Ethan stood there, holding another giant watermelon. What are you doing? Lurking around like that? I asked. Just brought you some watermelon, he said. Mid-sentence, I remembered Chloe's boisterous pronouncements during our call. I'd had the phone on speaker, and her colorful commentary had likely reached Ethan's ears. I swallowed nervously. "How long have you been standing there?" "Just about to knock," he replied. "You didn't hear my phone call, did you?" He hesitated, then admitted, "Actually, I heard bits and pieces." I wanted the earth to swallow me whole. The day of the engagement party arrived. I unearthed a dress I hadn't worn since before the breakup, taking extra care with my appearance. Jason had a way of making me forget myself, eroding my confidence until I questioned everything about who I was. My mother had been right. A bad relationship could make you lose yourself. Good riddance. As I stood before the mirror, I remembered something important. I was actually pretty cute. Before Jason, I'd had my share of admirers. A text from Ethan, "I'm here." I took one last look in the mirror, opened the door, and stepped into the hallway, feeling a sense of liberation I hadn't experienced in months. It was as if the doorway marked a clear division between my past and my future. Ethan stared, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, before breaking into a smile. "You look beautiful," he said. "I know," I replied, grinning. The venue was filled with mostly our college classmates, the engagement party doubling as a reunion of sorts. Chloe and I were deep in conversation when a sneering voice interrupted us. Well, if it isn't Jason's ex." It was one of Jason's college roommates, a guy I'd always disliked. His loud comment drew attention, and I felt all eyes on me. I ignored him, which seemed to fuel his annoyance. "You've got some nerve showing up here," he continued. "If I were you, I'd be hiding at home, too embarrassed to show my face." I laughed. "Why should I hide? Jason was so good to you. You just dumped him out of the blue. Look at him now, successful career, a younger girlfriend. As his bro, I want to thank you for not marrying him." Chloe jumped to my defense. "What the hell are you talking about?" The guy smirked. "Whoa, easy there. Looking for a fight?" I stood up, my anger finally surfacing. "I have nothing to be ashamed of. If you're so curious, why don't you ask your precious Jason why he had the audacity to invite me? He and Olivia should be thanking me for stepping aside. They wouldn't be here without me." The guy sputtered indignantly. Just then, Ethan appeared by my side, taking my hand protectively. He towered over Jason's friend, his voice calm but laced with a subtle threat. "What did you just say to my girlfriend?" The guy stammered. "You're her boyfriend?" "Yes. What business is it of yours?" "And nothing." "I heard you. You were disrespectful to my girlfriend." "Apologize." "Come on, man, I was just kidding. My girlfriend didn't find it funny." "Apologize." Under Ethan's unwavering gaze, the guy mumbled a hasty apology. The commotion had drawn a crowd, many of them our former classmates. Ethan, ever perceptive, smoothed my hair and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Don't let him get to you. It's not your fault your ex cheated. I've got your back now. You don't have to put up with this anymore." My heart pounded. Whether from the close proximity of Ethan, the scent of his soap, or the tenderness in his voice, I couldn't tell. Ethan held my hand throughout the rest of the ceremony. Even Chloe was texting me, demanding to know if we were actually together. He was playing the role of devoted boyfriend a little too well, but I found myself strangely reluctant for the performance to end. When it was our turn to offer congratulations, we approached Jason and Olivia, our fingers intertwined. Their faces tightened, their eyes fixated on our joined hands. "Ethan," Olivia said, her voice strained, "I never thought I'd see the day you actually settled down." "Amelia," Jason chimed in, "seeing you happy puts my mind at ease." "She is happy," Ethan said, cutting me off, his grip tightening on my hand. "And so am I. Thanks for your concern." Jason stared at me, his expression unreadable, as if searching for remnants of our shared past. The room fell silent, everyone aware of the history between us. Olivia shifted uncomfortably, nudging Jason with her elbow. He continued to stare, lost in some private reverie. Perhaps he felt a pang of guilt. If so, I no longer cared. I met his gaze, a serene smile on my face. "Jason, Olivia," I said, my voice dripping with insincerity, "I wish you all the best. May you have a long and happy life together." After the ceremony, I returned to my usual routine of long workdays and quiet evenings. Ethan would occasionally message me, usually about mundane things, building announcements, power outages, etc. We maintained a friendly but distant connection, neither of us making a move. Chloe kept urging me to go for it, convinced he was interested. but the age gap bothered me. Then came a work trip, weeks of intense deadlines and late nights. My communication with Ethan dwindled. When I finally returned, Chloe greeted me with shocking news. Jason and Olivia had broken up. Their engagement had imploded. I couldn't believe it. After all that drama, they'd still split? Apparently, Chloe explained, Olivia discovered Jason had been flirting with other girls. Nothing physical, but enough to cause a major rift. They had a huge fight and called it off. So the wedding is off? Duh. And that's not all, Chloe added, lowering her voice conspiratorially. What goes around comes around. Olivia went nuclear, confronting Jason at his work, exposing his flirting to everyone. He's become the office pariah and requested a transfer to a different branch. And Jason retaliated by spreading the news about Olivia being the other woman. Her entire company knows now. I was speechless. Yesterday's lovebirds were now tearing each other apart. Their relationship, as cheap and disposable as fast food, had finally reached its expiration date. My only regret was not being there to witness the carnage, maybe provide some celebratory background music. I figured that was the end of it, a satisfying but ultimately irrelevant epilogue to my own story. But I underestimated the depths of Jason's audacity. He contacted me. It was a rainy day. I dashed out of the office, heading for the subway without an umbrella. A voice called my name. Jason. His face was darker than the storm clouds gathering overhead. He wanted to talk. My first instinct was to refuse. We had nothing to discuss. But the rain was torrential, and the subway station was still a block away. Getting drenched meant risking a cold, a fever, and the dreaded nasal swab test. Reluctantly, I ducked into a nearby convenience store. Jason followed. He'd lost his usual swagger, his voice pleading. Amelia, I was wrong. I've done a lot of thinking, and I realize I still love you. Please, for the sake of everything we've been through, forgive me. I almost gagged. Are you delusional? Don't even talk to me. I'm afraid your stupidity is contagious. My mother warned me about playing with idiots. Amelia, you're so funny. I heard you and Ethan aren't really together. He's so young, doesn't seem like the responsible type. I'm a much better match for you. He droned on, oblivious to the stares of the other customers. I weighed my options. Soaking rain and a potential COVID test, or enduring Jason's pathetic attempts at reconciliation. I chose the former. Stop talking, I said, making a dash for the door. Wait, Amelia. Take the umbrella, he called after me. As if. I ran into the downpour, trying to shake him off, but he was faster, quickly catching up and holding the umbrella over my head. I pushed it away, he pushed it back. Frustrated, I yelled, "Get away from me." As if on cue, a figure emerged from the rain, launching himself at Jason with a force that sent him sprawling to the ground. I looked up and saw Ethan, his face a mask of fury. The rain continued to fall, the scene descending into chaos. Jason, enraged, scrambled to his feet, and the two men grappled, Ethan yelling, "Leave her alone," and Jason shouting back, "What's it to you? You're not even her boyfriend." Ethan, younger and taller, quickly gained the upper hand. A crowd gathered, someone threatened to call the police. I yelled at Ethan to stop, but he was like a wild animal, completely consumed by rage. Panicked, I threw myself at him, wrapping my arms around his waist, pulling him away. He finally subsided, his lip bleeding, Jason looking considerably worse. I helped Jason up, called a cab, took him to the nearest clinic, and even paid for his medical expenses. By the time I emerged from the clinic, the rain had stopped. Ethan stood outside, his jaw tight, a mixture of defiance and vulnerability in his eyes. He held two umbrellas, one open above him, the other clutched in his hand. I walked towards him. "You should go inside too," I said. "Get your lip looked at." "I'm fine," he muttered, then asked, his voice low, "Are you mad at me?" "Yes," I admitted. "That was reckless. You shouldn't have resorted to violence. I saw him harassing you." "That's no excuse, Ethan. You were completely irrational. I was just trying to protect you." "I don't need your protection. I'm older than you, I'm independent, I can handle myself." I was about to fight back. I forced myself to sound indifferent, reminding him, what if the police had come? "Ethan, we were just pretending. You didn't have to do that." He looked stunned. I turned and walked away, afraid to see the hurt in his eyes, the potential for a wounded puppy dog look that I knew I wouldn't be able to resist. I never asked him if the second umbrella was for me. I spent the evening at Chloe's, seeking solace in wine and conversation. She chastised me for being too harsh on Ethan, arguing that his youthful impulsiveness was understandable. I could only smile wryly. It's because he's young that he shouldn't behave that way, I explained. He's a bright kid, a top student with a great future ahead of him. What if he'd been arrested? What would his friends, his family, his employers think? Chloe whistled. Wow, you've thought this through. Of course I have. I smiled sadly. Seeing Ethan reminded me of myself, years ago, full of hope and determination. I wanted to protect that innocence in him, the same way I wished I could protect the younger, unscarred version of myself. You need to be honest with yourself, Amelia, Chloe said. If you like him, go for it. What's the worst that can happen? Slightly tipsy, I teased. Go for it. Is that a euphemism for something? What do you think? Did you expect me to give you sensible, measured advice? I woke up at Chloe's the next morning, the sky just beginning to lighten. Ethan had sent me a message during the night. I'm sorry. A wave of tenderness washed over me. I dressed quickly, eager to see him, to tell him it was okay, to thank him for defending me. I rushed home, planning to change before seeking him out. As I stepped out of the elevator, I saw him. He sat hunched over on the stairwell, his head down, the thin fabric of his t-shirt outlining the sharp angles of his back. He was still wearing the same clothes from the previous day. Ethan, I said softly. He looked up, his eyes lighting up as he saw me. He stood, and before I could speak, he pulled me into a hug. His embrace was warm and tight, as if he never wanted to let go. And in that moment, all my doubts and anxieties melted away. It was a two-way street after all. I let him hold me, waiting until he finally loosened his grip. Where were you? He asked. At Chloe's. Stayed the night. I noticed the bruise on his lip, still visible. You didn't sit here all night, did you? He nodded. You weren't answering my messages. I didn't know when you'd be back, so I waited. Why wait for me? Don't tell me you, like me? My heart hammered against my ribs as I waited for his answer. He looked at me as if I were daft. Is that even a question? I was speechless. Haven't I been obvious enough? Even though I'd suspected it, hearing him confirm it sent a thrill through me. Is this you confessing your feelings? I asked, trying to sound casual. Yes, he said. Well, I don't accept. What? You can't even say, I like you? I turned away, pretending to fumble with my keys. He reached out, pulling me back into his arms, his lips close to my ear. I like you, Amelia, he whispered, his voice a low rumble against my skin. I really, really like you. And he proceeded to tell me so, every 5 minutes, for the rest of the day. My precious day off, dedicated to gaming, was filled with constant declarations of affection. I like you. Okay, I get it. I like you. I like you. Help. Why are you saying this even after you've beaten me at Mario Kart? Am I supposed to be mad or flattered? Just as Chloe had predicted, Ethan ended up spending the night. He alternated between calling me by my name and Amelia Nuna, older sister. He'd say it with a smile, a playful glint in his eyes. A mixture of sweetness and mischief that I found both endearing and slightly unnerving. I'd later come to slightly dread the term of endearment, as each utterance required a reciprocal response. Our relationship blossomed, filled with playful banter and quiet moments of intimacy. One morning, we were woken by the sound of a key in the lock. Ethan mumbled sleepily, asking who it was. His voice startled the person at the door. He got up to investigate, just as the door swung open, revealing my mother. I'd forgotten to tell her I'd given her a spare key while I was away. My normally respectful mother had decided to stage a surprise inspection. She stared at Ethan, the grocery bag she'd been carrying slipping from her grasp. Mom? I squeaked. Ethan, completely unfazed, said smoothly, Good morning, Mrs. Davies. I'm Amelia's boyfriend. My mother shooed me out of the room, wanting a private word with Ethan. Whatever transpired behind closed doors, she emerged looking significantly more cheerful. I tried calling Amelia last night, but she didn't answer, so I thought I'd pop by this morning, she explained, her voice bright and unconvincingly casual. I brought some groceries. You young people probably enjoy this sort of thing. Ethan, ever the charmer, thanked her profusely. As I walked her to the elevator, she turned to me, her expression serious. Amelia, this time, don't be afraid. Don't lose the courage to love someone. I've vetted him. Ethan's a good man. I support you. Her unexpected words brought tears to my eyes. My mother, usually so critical, had finally given her approval. With Jason, she'd vehemently disapproved, warning me he wasn't the right one for me. Jay-Z was right, you should always listen to your mother. Jason, unable to cope with the fallout from his actions, resigned from his job at the branch office. Blaming Olivia for his misfortune, they had a final, spectacular falling out, vowing never to speak to each other again. Olivia, her reputation tarnished, was fired by her boss, a woman who'd been personally scarred by infidelity in her own past. Rumor had it Olivia was last seen with a much older man, presumably seeking another provider. But their drama was no longer my concern. Ethan and I sat in our usual spot at Sandy Sandwiches, sharing a phone and watching Crayon Shin-chan. By the way, he said casually, those Crayon Shin-chan underwear are seriously childish. He paused, then added, and those lace leggings? Truly atrocious. I smacked him playfully. Don't remind me. I have no dignity left. Hey, he said, grinning, I love you regardless. So, I asked, why do you like me? I don't know, he said, tilting his head thoughtfully. Maybe it was the chicken leg you gave me that day. It was perfectly cooked. Falling in love is often illogical, a matter of timing and inexplicable connection. I couldn't pinpoint the exact moment I fell for Ethan either. Every encounter had been tinged with awkwardness, yet through it all, he'd helped me rediscover myself. He picked up a chicken leg from the plate and offered it to me. Here, he said, his eyes locking with mine, a soft sincerity in his gaze. Now, be my girlfriend. Forever. The end.